Welcome to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Joyous conversations about what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about our one reality. You have nothing to fear. You are eternal and you are perfectly loved. Knowing the truth changes everything. Now, here's Roberta.
Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I am really happy you're with us today. Oh, my dear friends, Jesus spoke to us for, 3.5 years? But he gave us two great spiritual lessons that are the core of the whole reason why he chose to be born on earth. And then we chose to be born to learn how to love more perfectly, and we chose to be born so we could ever better learn how to forgive more completely. Those were the two lessons that he spent all that time teaching us. My dearly beloved friends, forgiveness and love are what it's all about. Learning those two lessons is what our lives are all about. And it was not until just a few years ago that I could find a real forgiveness expert who taught forgiveness so well that I thought we could at last make her our secret reality guru of forgiveness. That was when I met today's guest. Until then, we could just talk about A Course in Miracles. And if you've ever been exposed to A Course in Miracles, you know that's heavy stuff. Jesus channeled to us in the 1960s this big, thick blue book with tiny print in it called A Course in Miracles, and he taught that huge book with all of the tiny print. He thought maybe he had made the reason we weren't following the Gospels is he had made it too simple. Well, he made A Course in Miracles way too complicated, and I have done A Course in Miracles in a study group, and let me tell you, even then it's complicated, but we learn there a few very basic things, and one of them is that forgiveness is a great miracle, and miracles come in one size. No matter what happens to us, we can forgive it, and not only that, we must forgive it. Whatever happens, whatever people do to us, we must forgive it. Forgiving goes hand in hand with loving. And if we can't forgive, then we cannot learn how to love as Jesus taught us how to love. This is all really heavy stuff. And fortunately, Jesus' method of automatic prevenient forgiveness works very well indeed. But our guest today teaches a different approach to forgiveness that might work even better for you. And that is why we have made her our wonderful, wonderful guru of forgiveness. Our guest who is with us today for the 8th time is Brenda Reiss. Brenda is dedicated to helping people overcome obstacles that hold them back from living life to its fullest by guiding them through a special, very special 5-step forgiveness process. She says that self-forgiveness helped her to transition out of victimhood, where many people still are today, and into the life that she was meant to live. Our wonderful friend Brenda has experienced life's obstacles firsthand in the form of toxic relationships, eating disorders, anxiety, all kinds of things which can consume our everyday lives if we let them. And problems like these are allowing many people to control their lives even today. So Brenda learned how to forgive, and then she has developed this really successful forgiveness coaching practice, and she's written a great little book. It's tiny. It's called Forgive, which is brief and easy, and it's easy to understand. I think everyone ought to read it. My wonderful friends, I'm going to give you 2 key points right now before I introduce her to you, which explain to me why I think what Brenda teaches is so, so important. First, and I'm going to be frank to you and give you a really tough lesson in love. Never forget that the people who wrong us do not care one fig about whether we ever forgive them. Has that ever occurred to you? They do not care. So forgiveness of others is always a gift we give to ourselves. It's for us that we forgive other people and not for them. And it's the greatest gift we can ever give to ourselves, no matter how hard it may be, because forgiveness of others is freedom for ourselves. And second, many people don't even realize that the core problems at the center of their own lives have to do with things for which they blame themselves. I have known so many people who, at the core of their own lives, were the fact that there are things they should have forgiven themselves long ago for doing to their children, or to their husband, or to their mother, or to somebody else. They can't forgive themselves for those things. My own father had that problem, and he carried it for 20 years after his death. So self-forgiveness may, in your own case, be something that you desperately need to learn. And for many people, that's the case. So really, forgiveness may be the most important thing that Seek Reality can ever forgive you. And today, our treasured guest is Brenda Reiss. Welcome, Brenda. It is so good to have you back with us again.
You are such a joy to be with. I love it.
This is so special. So talk to us, sweetie. You call yourself a self-forgiveness coach?
Mm, yes. You know, and it comes from that life, like you just mentioned, about self-forgiveness, about not really realizing how I really needed to forgive myself. I needed, forgiving others throughout my life was important. But the baggage that I carried was the guilt and the shame that I carried for myself. And that's what I think people don't really realize. They kind of have an idea, but they don't know the weight and the cost of what holding on to some of these things, beating themselves up about is
Yeah.
really costing them in their bodies and their minds and their spirits. And that's been as I started to understand that for myself after my like third divorce, I was like,
Oh,
"Ooh,
my Lord.
yeah, I got some things I gotta work on here because what's the common denominator? It's me."
Yeah, in the three divorces, right?
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
I was the common denominator. And when I discovered through the forgiveness work, the patterns and the beliefs that I was carrying that was actually running my life without me conscious of it, making this conscious is what gave me my power back.
Discovering these things, being conscious of them, was
Right.
what gave you your power back. Wow.
Yeah. Instead of blaming, right? It was always my ex's fault or my parents' fault and granted, there were some things that they had done, yet am I a total victim of it? Only if I choose to stay there,
Yeah.
right? And that's
Yeah.
where I learned I didn't have to keep holding on to this life is happening to me thing. I could
Yeah.
actually turn it around and go, for some people, this is a bit too much, but where's the gift in this? Or what's
Yeah.
happening for me? And being able to do that in this way that I learned through radical forgiveness was powerful for me and for quite a few other people that I've helped along the way. And it was so freeing and
Yeah.
liberating.
Yes. Yes. Life is the story we tell ourselves, and too often we blame others for that story, but it's really our story.
It is our story. And and there's a choice. Forgiveness is a choice. And that's hard for people to get to. This is a heavy thing to be able to go, no, I don't have a choice. They did this to me.
Yeah.
That's what I kept thinking after all the betrayal that I went through, after all the abuse that I went through. And but really looking at it differently, shifting my perception around this story, which is what the forgiveness work is,
Yes.
helped me to look at it in such a different way that I went, oh, I have a choice and power in this.
Yes.
I can't change what happened, but I definitely can change how I look at it today and what I can do moving forward. And I think people get to be reminded of that,
Yes.
right? I think it's important to remind ourselves of that. We're not stuck in that place.
And how empowering that is.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's going on in your life, you have the power to change that story.
Absolutely. And you know what I'm noticing as we are becoming more and more aware, especially global things going on and things that we're feeling inside ourselves, people are feeling helpless and hopeless.
Yes.
And, and so instead of looking at the bigger, like we started talking about a little earlier, the global part, instead of looking at things I can't control, like the
Yeah.
serenity prayer, what can I control? And
Yeah.
that's us, right? That's
Absolutely.
bringing it back in and going, okay, this is the only vessel, the only thing that I can change, along with people like for us in coaching around us, we can help guide. But just really, I'm the only person I can change. And so am I ready to do that? I mean, that's a question to ask. Am I tired of being stuck in this victim or in the chaos or the drama of life? Right? When we focus so much outside of ourselves, oh my God, I lived that way for years. It's like always in the drama. And instead of going, but what I craved was peace.
Yes. Well, I guess we all crave that. Yeah.
Yeah, I craved the peace within my mind because I was so anxious, the thoughts and all that. And my body, my nervous system was on fight or flight all the time. And I think that's what we're noticing with people, with clients. I'm getting so many, we talked about this, urgent emergency calls
Yes.
and going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And it's like, whoo, the first thing we do is we take a breath. We
Yep.
just take a breath. And that in itself, it's free. And it's
For
something
now, it's free.
I know. Well, for the most part, it's free.
Yeah.
But, it's something we have at our disposal that's so funny that we don't ever use. You know, we breathe in and that's it. We forget to exhale.
Yeah.
And it's in the exhale that we calm our nervous system down and we feed our brain the beautiful oxygen that it needs.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, in taking responsibility for the
Yeah.
fact, for basically for our own lives,
Hmm.
yes, I see what my mom did wrong. I also see why she perhaps had the belief she had. I see her life was screwed up in this or that way.
Yes.
I'm getting insights into why. And I've decided to take control of my life. I've decided to take responsibility for
Hmm.
my life
Yes.
and to forgive. To
Yeah.
forgive my mother, to forgive my father, to forgive my ex, to forgive what I have for myself for what I have done. I've decided to forgive. So, what does that look like when I make that decision and I'm your client?
I love this because when we get to the point where we're ready, because we're ready to feel the peace within ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Taking responsibility is not the first step. The first step, of course, is understanding what happened.
Hmm.
What is it? Because what happened and what did it cause within me
Hmm.
to make me feel resentful, angry, hurt, grieving, whatever that is? Because I can't change something I don't know is there. Okay. So that's what that beautiful awareness is. So once I get willing, because sometimes people will come to me and they're like, okay, I just need to forgive my mom. We've had this terrible relationship and I just need to move on. I just need to forgive her, but they don't know what they're forgiving her for.
Hmm.
Sometimes we don't need to know exactly, like we don't need to dive into the pain and the hurt and the abuse that has possibly happened, but just having the understanding of, well, what is the belief that was placed within us in childhood
Right.
that has been carried out. Once we have that, which we do that through the story, because people come to me and they tell the same story that has been going on in their head and what they've shared with people, they're sharing that same story with me the same way for the last time. And because if they're willing to shift it, they don't have to carry that same story. They can remember the story, but it doesn't have the same impact.
Mm-hmm.
And so once we do that, then we can learn to take responsibility for our actions, because usually it's not just the one person or the one thing. A belief in a pattern is carried out through our whole life. It just weaves like a tapestry within our lives. And so that we can see it more clearly. So this is the part that's really important, is the mirror of what relationships are for me. Relationships aren't just for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships are mirrors so that I can learn and grow, because they reflect back what's hidden within me that I have denied, repressed, or rejected about myself.
So when you, and I don't mean you, I mean
Right.
a
The collective
person,
you.
the collective you chose to fall in love with and marry some man,
Hmm.
and then that relationship turned out to be unsatisfying, and you divorced him.
Hmm.
That was the reason behind that whole process was because of things in your own past life
Yeah,
that you were trying to resolve, and you had chosen to do that in a way which was ultimately not going to fix anything.
correct.
Okay.
Yes, because even neuroscience is showing that our brains hold on to patterns, right? I mean,
Right.
you know this, but they hold on to patterns. And when we're young, we have a pattern, we have a frequency or a remembering of a certain way. And so our little minds make up ideas of what love is by being shown to us or not shown to us
Right.
by our parents, usually, right? I mean, this is where we learn so many things. So when we can see this pattern, so, which I may have mentioned it before in one of our sessions together. It's like when my dad divorced my mom when I was 5, I had tried so hard to get his love, but he would never pay attention to me. He always paid attention to my brother and sister.
Oh, that's
It
terrible.
is. And so I tried hard and hard. And my mom, I didn't quite remember it. I do remember as I was 5, but not before that. But my mom would tell me all the time I'd try to sit in his lap and he'd push me away. And it was very fascinating. And so then when they divorced, he moved in with another family because he was having an affair. And he had moved in with his other family, and she had a daughter that looked just like me. It was my mom's best friend, right? So we knew each
Oh,
other. So
what a
this
life. That's
Right.
terrible.
Well, this young girl looked just like me, same age, right? And we went to visit for that weekend visitation, like you get. And he would put her in his lap. He would pay attention to her.
Oh,
And
that's awful.
yeah, and it was so, and I'm trying to figure this out at 5, 6 years old, right? And it's like, so in my little mind, there's something wrong with me,
Of course. Who
right?
would think that?
So this is a powerful thing that happens, and sometimes we're aware of it and sometimes not. Like I wasn't totally aware of that. I mean, I could see a pattern throughout my life with relationships, but I never knew where the root was
No, that's
until I did the forgiveness work. To add to that, he wanted my brother and sister to come to live with him and not me. My sister said, "Well, what about Brenda?" And he's like, "I don't want Brenda. I heard him say this." So you can imagine how that feels,
yeah, that's
right?
terrible.
I know.
Couldn't make that up. If you wrote a novel, they would reject that novel. That would be
I
terrible.
I know. And so I remember standing outside these closed doors as they were behind it, and me and Lori, the other little girl, were listening. And of course, because you always do as a young kid. And I remember looking at her when I heard these words. I remember looking at her and just feeling numb because it's like, what's wrong with me? So
Yeah.
right there is this
I would
belief.
have killed her. I mean, that would have
I
been
know.
effective. Get rid of her and he'll love me.
Right. Well, luckily I didn't go there. But But, and then we didn't see him much after that because my mom was angry that he wanted my brother and sister to come live with him and blah, blah, blah. But what happened was that played out in every single relationship. So I'm telling you this because of the belief. So the belief that was formed at the time was love is painful.
Well, yeah.
I'm not lovable, which is a normal thing for a lot of people. But it was like every man that I love is going to choose another woman or something over me. Now, I did not know that until I did the forgiveness work,
Wow.
right? And the way I found the root was fascinating. When I first met with the forgiveness coach, she's the one that told me I had a pattern of 5 in my life. And that's how we found the root, which is fascinating. She said, tell me about yourself. And I said, I've been married at that time. It was divorced 3 times, married and divorced 3 times. And,
You had to do it 5 times.
So luckily I didn't have to do it 5 times. I'm on my 4th marriage now. And this one, I think we got figured out. But,
Okay, good. A few.
but, I told her my first job was 10 years. My second job was 20 years. See, my other pattern was I stay with things way too long. Way too long. But what she said to me was, she goes, how long were you married? And I said, my first marriage was 5 years. My second marriage was 5.5 years. My third marriage was 10 years. Okay. So you see all these 5s, right? So she looked at me, she goes, oh my God, you've got a pattern of 5 in your life. What happened to you? I'd never been asked this question before. What happened to you when you were 5 years old? And that's what had happened. My mom and dad got divorced. He moved out. And that's the memory that came to me immediately.
Oh my goodness, Brenda.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
finding the root gave me my power back, actually. Now it opened up, of course, it was like, because when I did the next thing, Roberta, is I did a relationship timeline. So I took all the significant relationships and I put them on a timeline from 5 years old to how old I was. And then it was like, oh, well, he had an affair. Dating, all of that. And he chose his work over me. He chose sports over me. It was in and then it was in friendships. It started not just in romantic. So then the mirror got bigger. Then it started affecting me in friendships. And that's where I went, oh my gosh. So I took that belief and that pattern, because the belief was everyone that I love is going to choose something over me. And that love is hard. Love is painful.
mhm.
Right. And I worked so hard, Roberta, in every relationship. That's kind of what also, was born, was people pleasing and codependency. So I had this deep, deep pattern. That's why I teach forgiveness today.
Yeah, well, you sure would know how to do it by now. So as you learned, and we have to talk about your 5 steps, because I think that
Yeah.
people are wondering, wow, how could she ever forgive? And
Yeah.
what are these 5 steps? Because that's important. So,
Yeah.
all right, how did you overcome these? Because, I look back at my life and say, oh, my life has been so boring. My
Yeah.
husband's never cheated on me. I've been married 50 plus
Oh,
years.
that's amazing. That's a blessing.
Boring, boring. Um,
I'm sure it's not boring, but
no, not at all. I love my husband very much. But I tell people the first 25 years are the hardest. You get through those 25 years and it's suddenly a whole lot better. And I've talked with other people who've been married for a very long time, and they they agree with me. You get through those first 25 years and you sort of settle into a pattern that becomes really lovely.
I bet. Well, if I can add all of mine together, I could get to 25. But see, that's the other thing. I can talk about my marriage and divorces with no shame,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And I've been with my
No,
husband
because your
now.
men all betrayed you.
Yeah.
You
Isn't that?
we've talked about this very frankly. I mean, I've asked him, have you ever thought about having an affair? And he's honestly said no. I mean, he sort of was very happy with our marriage. He didn't
Oh,
think about having an affair, and I've thought about it too. I've had plenty of opportunities because I'm an attorney. I've been out in the working world, and
yeah.
it's like I sort of, I mean, it's trite to say, but you don't want hamburgers when you got steak at home. I mean, I always thought I had a better man at home than any of the ones who ever propositioned me, but I did have opportunities. They all didn't look as good as what I had at home, so I never felt tempted.
Yeah.
But, but yeah, you just, I don't know, and the time passes and it gets better and better.
That's so
And then you
beautiful.
have children, you see, and you certainly don't want to disappoint your children about what life is supposed to be about.
No.
I mean, once you have children and they start growing up and being people you don't want to disappoint, I think that that really solidifies your marriage.
I think that's really good. And I also think that we have different spiritual paths, right? I believe.
Yeah,
I think as I looked back and I learned through this process was there's a soul's journey that is chosen.
yes,
Because I've learned not to compare myself to people, well, like you, like have successful marriages when I'm on my fourth, right? Or that all the things that I put my children through because I'm recovering, right, from an alcohol addiction, and all these different things that I've done that I've been able to forgive myself for. But I look at that and then I look at people who've raised children who like have your mindset and your heart set of, I don't want to disappoint my children and I have steak at home. Why go for hamburger? Okay.
yeah.
And then there's a lot of people like me who have gone through many marriages, have gone through different things. And so it's like, wow, what makes the difference between like you and me? Oh, the difference is I feel a soul's journey. I think it's our spirit. We're all resilient, but we're resilient in different ways because your path has not been easy with your husband. I mean, marriage is a beautiful, beautiful gift of give and take and learning to express yourself. You guys have raised each other,
Yeah,
right?
that's in some, I'm sure that's true.
In some ways. And you learn so much. And for some of us, it takes 3 or 4 marriages to get to that point,
I
or
mean,
5 or 6
it would
in
be
some cases.
different if he had cheated on me.
Yeah.
Your husband's cheated on you, and
Yeah.
that's quite different. And because in my work with businesses, I've worked with 550 or so businesses, and they're all family businesses, families involved. In some cases, some of the men were not faithful, and I usually knew about it. And so that's what made me ask my husband, have you ever
Yeah.
what about, I would have known if he had cheated. He's not smart enough to hide it. So I would have known right away. And he honestly, well, number one, he's a very strict Catholic. I think he would
Mm.
have that kept him from
Yeah,
the
that's good.
cheating. But also, it's not in his disposition, I don't think.
Yeah.
He just he's a straight ass, straight arrow kind of guy.
Yeah.
So, but he said he never felt tempted at all.
That's really good. And I do. I mean, it's so amazing when I started to really, because I'm so curious about human nature.
Yeah,
And
that's why I asked him.
yeah,
That's why I looked at all the different
yeah,
families and
yeah,
why would he, and I usually often the women didn't realize their husbands were cheating, and I
right.
would, in some cases, I actually told the men they were being idiots because it would break up this business as well as this family, and so I sometimes did get to talk men out of what they were doing.
Well, that's good. Exactly. I think that's really good. But I also, it's like we learn these things differently. So
Yes.
it's kind of like so many people have these same I'm unlovable, I'm not good enough beliefs that were, I'm going to say planted, that we learned when we were younger. And we play them out in different ways in our life. Some of it's relationships, some of it's work, some of it's money, but it plays out, but it's still the same beliefs. And once we become aware of that, like having that knowledge was like the heavens opened up. I mean, it was like learning that the root of this issue that I got to see with my own eyes through this relationship pattern was powerful because now I'm no longer the victim. I'm no
And
longer the victim. I
yeah,
played a part. I played a part in it because I learned codependency and people pleasing. I learned to like everything was happening to me, not for me. And once I had this knowledge, I could shift my perception around, oh, I don't have to be the victim anymore. I can choose a different path.
yeah,
And that's what gave me the strength to go, I don't need to be treated this way.
yeah.
Now, how can I fortify myself, right? To love myself enough where I don't need external validation from some guy or somebody else telling me I'm good enough when they can never do it because they didn't feel good enough themselves.
Yes.
So how can I do that for me? Then that's where we started with the forgiveness. That's me taking responsibility to bring it back full circle with what we were talking about.
Yeah.
This is me going, let me quit blaming and let me go, what's my part in this? I can only really forgive myself because you said it right so well in the beginning. They don't really care whether you forgive them or not. Really, it's really about me.
Totally. Always.
It
Yep.
is. And once I do this here, once I can identify and then work on what I feel about myself, and
Hmm.
like I say, fortify, because I call it fortification because I'm building on something I know is there. I'm just uncovering it. I'm just uncovering my authentic self. And then I fortify it.
Just uncovering my authentic self.
Yeah,
So,
she's there.
so true. Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, the avenue, because there's different avenues, as we all know, the Course in Miracles works for some people. It didn't for me necessarily. I needed more of a tangible, kind of a logical, process to help me move from my head to my heart so I can use them together in harmony. Right? It's not, I'm no, I didn't want to just, I'd learned to think a lot instead of because it wasn't safe to be in my body or my heart. And I suffered a lot of physical ailments because of that. And so learning through this process of radical forgiveness, it was amazing.
It's so important, though, that people understand that the solution is always within you. It's
Yeah.
never in somebody else. It's always within you.
Well, and it's not their fault for
Yeah,
thinking it's not them. It's not our fault
yeah.
for looking outside of ourselves because we are trained that way.
That's right. That's so true. Everything you say is another nugget of truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and learning that was really important for me because that's where I thought I was supposed to get everything. Everything outside of me was really what was more important than me. So learning when somebody looked at me and said, Brenda, it's not your fault. Because
And
how,
I've been thinking about your father, who seems like a lunatic, but there was probably something that you reminded him of that he may not even have been aware of.
right.
And he was trying to replace that memory with something that made him feel better. And here was another child that looked like you, that was even your age, that he could replace that bad memory with and
Hmm.
make him feel whole.
Yeah,
And he was not, and this was all happening at a subconscious level in your father.
right.
And so it had nothing to do with you, though.
No, it didn't have anything to do with me. And later, years later, I found out from my sister, my older sister, and she's like, Dad always blamed my mom for having the affair. He was doing the affair, right? But he was blaming my mom for it.
He so
And
often do that.
yeah, and he was saying, I was somebody else's child when I looked just like him, which was so interesting,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
You
So
know,
it had nothing to do with you at
no,
all.
nothing to do with me at all. But for decades, I thought it did.
Yes.
I thought it did until I was almost 50 years old, I think at the time. It's 50. No. I was like 52 when I discovered this. And it was like, it was powerful because at that point in time, it was like, oh, it's not about me. Now, my job is to heal me,
Yeah.
is to take this belief, this pattern, this, all the things that I thought I had done wrong for about myself. And I got to love me.
Yes.
I started out just being willing to like myself first. I want to say that for the audience because a lot of people go, yeah, whatever. I can't love myself. It's so hard when they carry so much guilt, shame, and wounds. So just
But
being
love
willing.
comes naturally once the forgiveness
Yes,
work has been done.
absolutely. It's amazing at how it
Love
shifts.
is natural, and beneath it all, in each of us, it's endless, perfect love.
Yeah.
What we're doing is we are fixing one another. No, well, we're fixing ourselves most of all. We are fixing ourselves. We are creating this perfectly loving being that we already are. And we're doing
Yeah.
that by doing all this great forgiveness work. Now, talk about the five
Yeah.
steps in forgiveness, because we're coming to the end of our time. And
Absolutely.
we cheated. Our wonderful friends who have been listening to us and saying, wow, look at all this going on here. But
Yeah.
talk about forgiveness. Talk about the five steps.
Yeah, so the five steps are a little different. The first three are about the same as normal forgiveness is what we call it, traditional forgiveness. The first one is telling the story. But again, you're telling the story as a victim. You're telling your victim story. You're giving every single part of you the ability to have a voice because this is what happens. Our voice gets shut down, right?
Mhm.
When we're telling it, we're only telling it from one aspect. When we allow every part of us to have a voice, this is different, especially with somebody who's trained to hear, to listen for beliefs and patterns. That's what I do. That's my superpower. I can connect the dots pretty easily by hearing someone's story. But the hardest part of this five steps is feeling the feelings. We have been taught, trained, programmed to stuff our feelings. And for the majority of the population. So some people, I am so surprised. There's some women, 50s, 60s, that come to me that can't even name their feelings. So it's important. That's a good part of my work is to help people identify and be able to feel the feelings in a safe way. Now, the third step is where traditional forgiveness ends and radical forgiveness begins, because now you're separating fact from interpretation. I'm separating the fact of the matter is my father left. That's it. My parents got divorced. And that he said, I don't want Brenda. Okay, that's the fact. But the suffering, the interpretation that I came up with was every man that I love is going to choose another woman over me. He doesn't love me. There's something wrong with me. I made that up.
Mhm.
I carried that cross. Okay. The fourth step is where radical forgiveness it comes in, and we look at it from a whole different perspective. We look at it as life is happening for me, not to me. We look at it from a spiritual perspective. Maybe, just maybe, I had some things to learn. My soul wanted to learn. My soul wanted to grow more into love. And how else do I grow more into love but learn the opposite of it? Okay. And then the fifth stage is the integration. That's where we move out this energy. We move out these stories. We shift our perception and we bring in a new one. And more empowered, more transformational, more of who we authentically are, so that we can move forward in a way that we are choosing to move forward, not how we thought we were supposed to move forward.
And that frees us now from the story. We have moved above and beyond the
Yeah.
story,
Yep.
and we can free ourselves now from the
Yeah.
story. We can forgive the story because
Yeah.
it's no longer a part of us.
Correct. Yeah, and it doesn't mean we have to have, again, we've talked about this before. It doesn't even mean you have to be in relationship with the person that you're forgiving. They can be dead, alive, doesn't matter. We don't even have to be in relationship with them to get forgiveness. It's about us. And so it's not even about them. And so my father was dead by the time I did forgiveness. So was my mother. But I gained the freedom and the liberation from the story, from the shame and the guilt, from all the things that I carried because of that story. I freed myself from it, and they weren't even here.
But it is critical that you rise above all the story,
Yeah.
all the elements of the story, all the thoughts that the story ever gave you about yourself, because
Yep.
you are whole and perfect. And you'll know that the story is gone when you understand how much more you are loving all the people that used to be a part of the story. You can
Yeah.
love your mother, your father, whoever was in that story for the people that they were in your life, even though they're dead. You can love the siblings that maybe you resented. You can love the spouse for who he is and for his
Correct.
failings, even the spouses you divorced, that
Yes.
that you've grown beyond. And that's because underneath it all is all this love that is essentially who you are. And that's the point of all of this. That's what Jesus told us was the point of all the forgiveness and why it's so essential that you forgive no matter what. The point of it all is love.
It is.
And the spiritual growth that love is, because it's the highest vibration. Oh, my dear, I love you. You are just so perfect. And thank you so much
Thank
for
you, Roberta.
being here with us. We have so completely come to the end of our time. What do you want people to take away from this?
Well, I want them to really take in that love is their true nature, that we've never lost our authentic self. Our true self is within them. She or he or they have just been buried. And that when we're willing to do the work to uncover that, it brings so much joy to our being
Yes,
that we fortify ourselves naturally.
we become joy.
Yeah,
It
we
literally
do.
becomes who we completely are. And whenever I see you, see your smiling face, I mean, look at who you are. That's who you have become totally.
Thank you.
When you consider how what you came from, where you were not ever happy before, and now you're nothing but happiness now. So
Yeah.
lovely.
Thank you.
And there's a way for people to contact you. We'll put that in the
Yep.
notes as well, and your website, so that and you do take clients now and
Yes,
do counseling with people who are having trouble learning forgiveness on their own.
absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, darling. Well, I'll be right back. I just have to tell everyone who our guest is next week. I'll be right back. Oh, that's lovely. Oh, my goodness. This is tough stuff. Learning forgiveness is not easy, especially if you've spent your life thinking it's impossible. It turns out to be a little bit difficult to learn, but once you learn it, it becomes so easy because it's just like laying down things you've been carrying your whole life long. And when you lay down that burden, oh, the joy. Oh, sorry, I've lost my voice. The joy is so, beyond belief. Anyway, once again, my darling friends, we've totally run out of time here. I just have time to tell you who our guest is next week. But just never forget that you are a powerful, eternal being. If you're alive now, you will always, always be alive. You never began, you never will end. And when you get that, and all its implications, it changes everything in your life for the better. Next week, our guest will be Dr. Tom Namey, and he will be here for the first time. He uses induced after death rather, communication or IADC therapy to produce the most extraordinary results I have ever seen for some people who have lost their loved ones. This is really amazing stuff. His book is entitled Inspired Life, Beautiful Death. It explains how this amazing therapy can sometimes almost altogether heal grief, unbearable grief, in one session. It's really beyond belief. Someone that our wonderful friend Sandra Champlain had first interviewed in one of her podcasts, and she said, Roberta, you've just got to have this guy on Seek Reality. He's beyond belief. And I know I've talked actually with the inventor of IADC, and he was beyond belief too. So I reached out to him. I said, hey, would you like to come on? He said, yeah. I believe he's in Hawaii, so is going to be long distance, but we will have him on next week. And you have got to hear this. Please don't miss this. Be with us next week. And this week we've been talking again with Brenda Reiss, who is Seek Reality's guru of forgiveness and self-forgiveness. And you can see why. She's been with us for the 8th time. She has dedicated her life to helping people overcome obstacles that hold them back from living their life to its fullest, by guiding them through her 5-step forgiveness process. There are some people who have been unable to forgive themselves, mostly, my father being one of them, for 20 years after his death. That's a story for another time, but he literally could not forgive himself, and he had trouble, and he put himself almost into the lowest level of the afterlife as a result of it. And terrible story. I'll tell you another time. But don't do that to yourself. Learn forgiveness now, because that's the toughest part of what happens after you die. You've got to learn self-forgiveness and learn it right. And she's written a beautiful book called, actually I said it wrong the first time. It's called Forgive Yourself. I've read her book a couple of times. It's very quick. You can read it in an evening. It's a brief book. It's a beautiful book, and everybody has to read this book. And then everybody, if you are having trouble forgiving yourself for anything, you ought to talk to Brenda. She is a beautiful soul, and she can help you if anybody can help you. And she, frankly, having her here and talking about her life and how she freed herself is always such a treat for me and for everybody. And that's really all the time we have. We have totally run out of time here, but once again, please remember that you are eternal, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are loved by God more than God loves anybody else. God loves you. Please enjoy it. Please make the most of this coming week in our one reality, always knowing that you are a powerful, eternal being. You are loved more than you can possibly imagine, and you, most of all, in this entire universe, you are infinitely, eternally, and perfectly loved.
You've been listening to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Roberta blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Join us every week as we explore what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about the one reality we all share. Knowing the truth changes everything.